All right. So this is what Alabama looks like. Fucking beautiful. Absolutely. Hey, I want you to know this. Alabama has long inspired Texas, long inspired the country. We have a profoundly powerful relationship. I'll touch on this a little bit more, but I want you to know that this was the easiest yes I ever decided when the students at the University of Alabama reached out to me. Hell yeah, we are going to be there. Because if you think about it, you know, too many people in this country who understand full well the threat that Donald Trump poses to us individually, to our families, to our community, to our Constitution, to our very country, they're stunned, or they're waiting, or they're hoping some cavalry is going to ride to the rescue, or they're anticipating orders from headquarters or Washington, D.C. The students at the University of Alabama took action themselves, the future into their own hands, and they brought us together, and that's the leadership that we need right now. Are you with me on this? Roll Tide. I mean, just look at what the president is doing to this state. Cutting education funding in a state that ranks near the bottom right now in terms of resources to educate our kids and the future generation. He's cutting Medicaid in a state where it's already harder to see a doctor than almost any other state in the union today. For those Alabamians who put their lives on the line for this country, signed a blank check, allowed us to send them halfway a world to take the lives of others and to risk their life in the process. He's cutting 83,000 jobs at the VA right now, most of them veterans. And that's going to hurt the people of Alabama. And then here we are, in the cradle of American democracy, Alabama. And they're making it ever harder for our fellow Americans to cast a ballot. That voter suppression, that voter intimidation, not just an insult to you, but this democracy and everyone who has suffered and served and struggled to realize that it would be one person and one vote in America. So my hat is off to each and every single one of you who have shown up today, because it is so easy to be tempted by despair, to be depressed and distraught, but instead you chose to stand up and be counted at this defining moment of truth. And then, as if we needed to add insult to injury, on your big day, you seniors here at the University of Alabama, when it should be all about you and the hard work and the effort and the success that you have earned, this jackass is trying to make it all about him, beautifying his ego, imposing himself on this community and these students. We cannot have it. And I tell you what, it is by design. He wants us to feel hopeless. He wants us to believe that he has all the power. But let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. In this country, in this great democracy, in this government of, by, and for the people, the real power is with us, with you, with me, every single person who comes here today. And it's going to take all of us. The biggest, broadest possible coalition of Americans. So let me say this. If you're a Republican, if you voted for Donald Trump in the last election, you are welcomed here, and we're glad that you came. If you're a Democrat, and you know that we can do something better, and you're sick and tired of our national party focusing on the blue wall states half a world away when the real fight is here in Alabama, I am glad that you are here as well. Independents, voters, non-voters, no me importa. All that matters now is that we're Americans and human beings, and we treat one another that way. You with me? No, the power is with us, and some can be forgiven for wondering whether our protest today holds any meaning or whether it offers any hope against the power wielded by the president and his majorities in Congress and the Supreme Court and the oligarchs and literally the richest man on the planet. Who are we? Who are we, you may ask yourself, against all of that? I'll tell you what.
We are the people!
We are the people. We have the power. We are, hear me on this, we are the last and the best hope for this country, just as this country remains the last and the best hope for this earth. What we do right now, at this moment of truth for America, will forever define our future, our fate, and our fortune as a country. So, Alabama, no pressure, but we cannot fuck this one up. Are you with me on that? We gotta come through. We cannot be found wanting. Not now. We have the power to overcome. And listen, I know it because I believe in you, I believe in us, and I believe in people. And I also know this. We can overcome these challenges because we have overcome them before against much greater odds. It is who we are. We are made of overcoming. It is our history, it is our story. It is what has made us the greatest planet, the greatest country on the face of the planet today. Let me give you a story that starts right here in Alabama, in Tuscaloosa, in fact. After nearly 90 years of Jim Crow in America after the end of Reconstruction, it was ordinary people, just like those who have assembled today, who chose to take power into their own hands. They did not wait for elected leaders to get the job done. They decided they would do it themselves. 1964, Bloody Tuesday, right here in Tuscaloosa. People beaten nearly to death, just wanting to be treated like a man or a woman under the Constitution with the rights and freedoms that they should be able to enjoy. It was their courage of their convictions that pushed this country finally to sign the Civil Rights Act into law that very year, ending Jim Crow in America. But at the end of 64, you all may know this story. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Andrew Young met with President Johnson in the White House. And they said, Mr. President, we will forever owe you a debt of gratitude for what you have made possible with civil rights. But with all due respect, now we would like to vote. When you look at Alabama, Mr. President, there are counties and communities like Selma where the majority of the population is black, where there's not a single black voter on the rolls. Mr. President, you may say we are a democracy, but we're a democracy in name only. And Johnson turns to King and he says, Dr. King, you are right, and I want to be with you, but I used everything I had to pass civil rights. I simply don't have the power to get this done. As they left the White House, a dejected Young turns to King and says, well, what do we do now? And King turns to Young and he says, we go out there and we get this man some power. Over the coming days and weeks and months, everyday Americans, just like us, we protested just like we're doing today. We took to the State House and the courthouse steps. We lit up the switchboard on Capitol Hill. We wrote to the president demanding we have the right to vote, until one of us was able to break through on the 7th of March, 1965. A 24-year-old John Lewis leads this march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama. And for having the strength and the courage to do what was right, not for himself and not just for people who looked like him, but for all of us and for every generation to follow. He was beaten down and nearly killed in the process. But thank God, the press, not the enemy of the people, but the greatest champion of this democracy, they were there to capture those images, to broadcast them across the country and around the globe. And it so shocked the conscience of America that it galvanized our government into action within 8 days, light speed in Washington, D.C. President Johnson convenes a joint session of Congress. And remember earlier I said that Alabama has always inspired Texas. Remember, he's the first president from the state of Texas, and he was watching what was happening in Alabama that day. And he said to the assembled members of Congress, as it was at Lexington and Concord, as it was at that courthouse in Appomattox, and he could have added, as it was on those beaches in Normandy in 1944, fighting fascism half the world away to defend this democracy here at home. So it is in 1965 that everyday Americans are willing to do what it takes, including laying down their lives so that this country will realize and fulfill its promise. All of us created equal, all of us to be treated equally under the law. By that summer, Johnson's able to sign the Voting Rights Act of 1965 into law, creating the first true multiracial democracy in American history, the very democracy under attack by Donald Trump today. Are we going to stand up and fight for that democracy? Are we going to follow the lead of John Lewis and the people of Alabama? It is who we are. It is what we're made of. We have overcome before, and it's not just ancient history. You remember in the first Trump term, a policy that he pioneered called family separation. And what that meant was, afraid for your life and the life of your young child, you traveled these 2,000 miles, literally the length of the Western Hemisphere, to bring her to safety and asylum and refuge in a country that is composed of asylum seekers and refugees from the world over. And just as you got here, having survived that journey, they literally take or tear that baby from your very arms, put her in foster care, and deport you back to El Salvador or Honduras or Guatemala or wherever you came from. Outraged at the injustice, everyday Americans stepped up. They spoke out. They stood to be counted, culminating in a protest in Tornillo, Texas on June 18th of 2018. Tornillo was where they had constructed a camp community for those kids who'd been separated from their parents. More than 1,000 of us showed up to bear witness, to testify to our fellow Americans just what was being done in our name. The president could not bear the outrage or the scrutiny or the backlash, and by June 20th, 2 days later, he rescinded family separation in America. The power of people works in this country, even against Donald Trump. In 1858, another time of division and polarization and crisis in this country, Abraham Lincoln gave a speech in which he said, "Public sentiment is everything. With it, nothing can fail. Without it, nothing can succeed." Public sentiment is you. It is me. It is all of us listening to and talking with our friends, our neighbors, our classmates, our colleagues, complete strangers, to make sure they understand what is happening in this country right now. Building that power that will come back on this president and overcome this administration and replace it with something far better than we have today. Do not lose that hope. Do not turn your back on that power. Use it now at this moment of truth. Lincoln was talking about us. He was talking about these students at the University of Alabama. He was talking about folks who show up in places that others write off as too red, too Republican, too tough to fight in. You all didn't believe that. You showed up today because you know that this place counts. And so when we organize at the local level, just like we're doing today, when we attend these marches, when we hold these town hall meetings where the Republican member of Congress is too chicken shit to do their job and face the accountability of their constituents, we are building public sentiment against which nothing can survive. So remember, you have the power, and we are grateful that you brought that power here today in Tuscaloosa. Let's go out and share it with this country and win America back. Let's do it. Thank you all for coming out today. Thank you for having me. Gracias y adelante. That was incredible. That's a top right to call it. Can we give another hand to Mr. Banner? My name is Sam McKinney. I serve as the Vice President of UA College Democrats. I spoke to Congresswoman Sewell yesterday, and she just wanted to express how deeply disappointed she is that she's not able to make it here today. She's up in Washington, fighting for all of our rights, fighting for us, fighting to block this terrible agenda from affecting the people of Alabama. She said the change does not come from the halls of Congress, but rather from the grassroots organizing and political participation of its citizens, and she's truly inspired by the turnout here today. I've heard a lot of people, a lot on the right, a couple on the left say, it's an honor to have a sitting president of the United States come speak at your university. I tend to agree with them. Just not this president. I bet it was an honor in 1960. I bet a couple of people said it was an honor in 1963 when Mr. Wallace came down here and stood in this university needs to have on its namesake. 2 months after Mr. Wallace came down here, the 16th Street Baptist Church was bombed and 4 little girls were killed. In 1980, that case went cold for 13 years. In 1980, Bob Chambliss was convicted of murdering 4 little girls, and one man cut class from Cumberland University all week to go watch the trial. That man was Doug Jones. Mr. Jones prosecuted and had jailed 2 of the other perpetrators of that horrific crime. In 2018, he did something that no person in this crowd thought was possible. He, as a Democrat in the state of Alabama, got elected to the U.S. Senate. He's been fighting for the rights of us, for the rights of every American, ever since, for his entire career. And everybody, please give a warm welcome to Senator Doug Jones.
I have the bad misfortune sometimes in Alabama that I always end up going behind a church choir or, something, and now I got to go behind BETO or ROURKE, for God's sake. Folks, thank you. Look, thank you all for coming. Thank you, Tuscaloosa, for being here, and for everybody else that came out. This is, I've been asked a lot today with the media and others. Okay, I got to get it closer. I feel like I'm doing a weird comedy routine. I've been asked a lot about the president coming and the protest. I said, folks, I told the media every time, this is not a protest. This is a movement. This is a movement. Because it is the movement, as Beto said, it is the movement that changed this country. Whether it was the civil rights movement, whether it was the anti-war movement, it is the movement right here at the University of Alabama. So folks, here's the thing. Over the last few months, we have become less prosperous. We have become less respected around the world. We have become more cynical about due process. We have become more engaged about our government, and that's the good thing, because so far, so many people have not been engaged. They don't vote. They don't come out. They don't come to rallies. And all of a sudden, what's happening? Their Medicare is going to get cut. Their Medicaid is going to go away. Their veterans benefits are being cut. Their Social Security, everything is there. Farmers are losing markets because of tariffs. Well, guess what? Folks are getting engaged. I'm sorry that I can't, it's hard to keep a microphone right up to your mouth sometimes. I apologize. But folks, right here in Alabama, we are the center. I want you to think about so many things in this country. Everybody talks about Alabama and all the things that are bad. And we've had our share, for God's sakes. We have had our share, and we still have our share. Most of them are in Montgomery, Alabama. But we do have a few in Washington, D.C. But folks, I want you to think about so many of the great things that came out of the state because people like you talked to people that got engaged. Rural hospitals were the result of Lister Hill, the great senator from Alabama. A modern banking system with John Sparkman. Redstone Arsenal with Senator Sparkman. The Clean Water Act. We had such great leaders in our congressional delegation. Can you name one thing done these days other than Terry Sewell? No, you can't. But yet they support things like destroying the Department of Education. Let me tell you something, folks. If there is one person in this country who could use the Department of Education okay, I don't even have to say it. It's that self-evident. Folks, we're at a point now, though, and I want to bring this home. I want you to think about things that Alabama has done. From the Iron Age to the Space Age, from civil rights to human rights, we have led a way. Sometimes we had to lead kicking and screaming, but it was courageous people like you. You know, when Sam introduced me, he referred back to the stand, what people call the stand in the schoolhouse door. Let me tell you something, folks. I'm tired of calling it the stand in the schoolhouse door. I don't like glorifying George Wallace, who was on the wrong side of history. The courage was those kids, Vivian Malone and James Hood. So we need to be talking. We need to be talking about the walk through the schoolhouse door. And I'm going to tell you, I dare Donald Trump to go to Foster Auditorium today to see that. I dare him to go look and see what real courage looks like that happened at Foster Auditorium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And of course, we've seen it time and time again. But right now, everything that we've got is under siege. It is all under threat. You are here today, not just as a protest, but as a movement. You are here today because you're concerned. Understand right now with what we're seeing going on. The rule of law. I want you to remember that when there is no due process, like we're seeing now, when there is no due process, there is no rule of law. When there is no rule of law, there is no justice. And when there is no justice, there is no democracy. And when there's no democracy, folks, when there is no democracy, there is no United States of America, and we damn sure are not going to let that happen. As we go from here, when you go out, everybody needs to understand and need to know. Everybody's asking me, what can I do? You can stand up. You can speak out. Write your member of Congress. Don't think, write your U.S. senators. They'll ignore it, but write them anyway. Because those things mean something. As somebody that sat in the halls of the United States Senate, we tried to answer everything, even with people that came in that opposed what we were doing. When people are doing things, you need to stand up and speak out. So be there. Ask your congressman why they're not showing up for town halls. Ask your senator why they're not showing up for town halls. They won't have an answer. But those are things you can do. But just as important, go to your county commission. Go to your city council offices. Get engaged. Civic engagement at the local level is where we have to be. That's the power. You have that power. Beto doesn't have that power. I don't have that power. Hakeem Jeffries doesn't have that power. The power is with you. Every one of you. When you do that, though, you need to take somebody with you to talk to your friends, your neighbors, your family. You know, I'm seeing a lot of folks having rallies like this. I'm seeing a lot of people going into the red states that Beto talked about. I'm seeing a lot of town halls where folks are doing the kind of things. Bernie's doing it. AOC's doing it. Ruben Davis doing it. You name it. People are getting out there and they're going into red states. But let me tell you what I'd like to see. What I'd like to see is not the officials necessarily coming and being the center of attention. What I'd like to see is a hearing. I'd like to see people like you testifying, talking about things that are happening to their communities. They're talking about things that are happening to their families, talking about things, because that's where the local news gets their information. We need to get out into the heartland. We need to get our folks out of D.C. and away from that and into Alabama and into the Rust Belt and into places where they can hear the stories and the media can hear the stories. Because if you stay in D.C., you're just in a damn bubble. And you're not going to get out. And you can help that. Even if you have somebody coming in from Congress, you can organize something and have people come testify. You know, I was listening a moment ago to the young man who was talking about Alzheimer's research. You know, see, that's the kind of typical shit that these guys do. Okay? Hey guys, I love motorcycles too. That's great. Why don't you look like a damn fool for a change? That's all good. That's happened before. Look, we've got to make sure that people are heard. That's the main thing. Everything that all right. So wait a minute. Look, let me tell you. What's he riding? Is he riding a Harley? Probably not. Probably a Japanese motorcycle. Well, let me tell you, whatever he's riding now, it's going to go up in price by 50% because of the damn tariff. He ain't going to be able to buy gasoline because of the tariff. He's not going to be able to put food in the refrigerator because of the tariffs. And when folks start talking about these tariffs, guys, please remind them, tariffs are a tax. Y'all know that now, right? This is not just inflation. Tariffs are a tax. It is something that the government is going to collect, but guess who they're going to collect it from? They're going to collect it from you. Everything you buy. And I can't help it that Jeff Bezos doesn't have the courage to acknowledge that there are tariff prices increases on Amazon. But you know what? You know it, and you can tell your neighbors about it. That's the thing about all of this, is getting the message out. Look, I am just so proud to be here. I am so proud of you. I am so proud of the way that people have responded to the President of the United States invitation. And let me say this, I want to echo something Beto said too. Don't take this out on the university. That was a really tough spot when the President of the United States says, hey, I need to come down there and show off. I want to come down there because you know what? Y'all are all my people. Well, obviously they're not. Okay? But let me tell you something, guys. He's going home tonight. He's either going back to Washington, or he's going to Mar-a-Lago, or he's going somewhere. He's getting to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So you grab from the University of Alabama, of which I am a very proud alum. Do not let this blow your graduation. You have worked hard. You're going to work hard. The only thing I ask is that when you leave this university, you get out there and you make a difference in this state, in this country. That's what you can do. That's how we make this change. Folks, it is time. Every change in America has come from a movement. It has come from not from Washington, D.C., or even a state capital. Every change in this country has come from a movement that has bubbled up. And you've got to make your voices heard. You've got to make, whether it's social media, whether it's in your communities. The next time you have one of these, and there will be, he may not be coming to town, but there'll be another rally. Grab a friend. Grab somebody who has maybe on the fence and say, we need to talk. We need to listen to folks. We need to get people. And then the next one, grab somebody else. You have that power to help build this movement. That's what we've got to have in this country. That's the way we make the changes. And let me tell you something. Change has come to Alabama before. It's going to come to Alabama again. It doesn't matter. You can, it's okay if you want to widen I-65 so all the tourists can flow through Alabama. But let me tell you something. There's a lot more changes that we got to make. We got to put Alabama on the top of everything good and get off of the list that's on the top of everything bad. We got to get on the top of all things good, because right now we're at the bottom. So let's stay fired up. Let's make sure your voices are heard. Let's make sure you get engaged. Make sure you get people and talk to your friends. That's the thing. Remember, what's happening, period. What's happening now is not justice. Justice, folks, injustice can be really loud. Injustice can be, especially when you've got the bully pulpit of the presidency, injustice can be really loud. And that's why justice has to get louder. That's why you have to get louder. That's why you have to make your voices heard to make sure justice stays loud. Thank you all for coming. I love you. Stay with it. Stay with it. Thank you very much. Come here, Beto. Come here. One more time for Beto.
I want to give y'all a gift of our appreciation.
Okay. I need more Alabama swag. Wait a minute. What the hell? Thanks, guys. Thank you all.
So much for coming. I'd like to give a couple of thanks.